welcome everyone to Disruptive Conversations with thought leaders, entrepreneurs, innovators, teachers, authors, influencers. Oh boy, that was a glitch. Influencers, where we deep dive into the journeys of these women and their experiences of what they needed to conquer, navigate to conquer in order to achieve their personal and professional success. I'm Dr. RISA RYGER, clinical psychologist. I'm an expert in change, and I help people change, make positive change at any point in your life. We're built for change. Now, positive change can't happen without disruption. You must disrupt thought, feeling, behavior, belief in order to create the positive change you want and live your 10.0 life. And that's what these conversations are. This is a series of conversations. Love having you here. If you like what you're hearing, if you're interested, I post all the time in these areas. And so please do follow me. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce literally the one and only, I'm going to thank Kay Carpano for coming, the one and only Meghan Gamboa. I have to, as I have these incredible women on, I have to read their bios because they're so accomplished. There's so much to say about their titles. So Meghan Gamboa is the co-founder and SVP of Marketing and Retail Sales at Ageless Innovation, the makers of Joy For All companion pets and games. Meghan has spent 15 years at Hasbro, marketing the world's most iconic products. So Meghan, welcome to this community. I'm so thrilled to have our communities joined here and bring in more friends and guests. And so I gave you a brief introduction, but if you would like to add to that, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, great. Thank you again so much for having me, and I appreciate how many familiar names and faces I see popping up below as people are joining this conversation. Friends from Hasbro from the past, as well as new friends that we've made since starting Ageless Innovation. So thank you so much for having me. Just a little bit more about what we're doing and what will guide this conversation today is at Ageless Innovation, our purpose is to really reimagine how we positively live and age together by unleashing the power of play. So when we talk about disruption in our initial conversations, Dr. RYGER, when we spoke yesterday, we really wanted to talk about how we're addressing a very different conversation with such a deserving audience of older adults and their families. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and hopefully this conversation sheds a lot of light on how we can all positively impact such a deserving group of folks.
Right. And especially no matter where we are in our lives, we will become that deserving group of folks at some point in time, at least in terms of aging. But before we get on to that, so my first question to you, Meghan, is what is it that you needed to disrupt in your life in order to be able to have the personal and professional success that you've had at this point in time?
I think obviously we grow and change a lot over the past 20 years professionally. That has certainly held true. I will say, as a young woman who started a full-time job before she was done with my undergrad in college, there was a lot of working very hard to get to different positions, and it was about title and where you were in your career. And I think one of the hardest things to overcome and disrupt was once I started my family to find the right balance of, how I could be an incredible employee and a contributor to my team, while also recognizing that my team at home was growing and how I could be what I could for them. So I think that was probably, one of the biggest resets in my personal and professional life is that we work for a long time before we start to incorporate husbands and running households and tiny humans into the mix, and figuring out the right way to reset and continue to do what I love, which is working to bring joy and play and happiness, regardless of who that is for, but also making sure that, the group that's at home is filled with the same positive love and joy and happiness that I can bring to them every day.
Meghan, what you're saying is so important, and I think specifically for women, and I think more so for men now, is that we are ands. We're not this or that. We are ands. You are senior vice president, you're a co-founder, you're a mom, you're a wife, you're a daughter, and you're a mama to your dogs and to your cats. And so we have an and orientation. We have an and mental orientation, and that whatever we are in the moment, that doesn't mean that the other parts of ourselves have disappeared. And in fact, that is truly not the case. So, can you just fill us in a little bit more? Because what you're talking about is so crucial about being in a space and then needing to figure it out for you, what your requirements are, what you feel your responsibilities are, and how that has impacted how you have figured this out and make it happen. It doesn't come with a blueprint. And that's what I think is so important for people to know.
But if anyone can come up with that blueprint, it would be extremely helpful to parents and employees everywhere. So maybe one day. But yeah, it was, I kind of simultaneously was, charging down the path of career and then also parenthood. And no one can really warn you what is coming in either one of those. And, it really took resetting, and it was a big aha moment, which I think, Dr. RYGER, I think I've shared with you in our previous conversations, where my son was 2 at the time, and this is just probably one of my biggest aha moments of my life. And I dropped him off at daycare as I was rushing to get him dropped off and then get to work for the day. And I brought him into daycare, and on the door to daycare there was a big sign that said it was B Day, and I had completely forgotten that it was B Day. And he didn't have a ball and he wasn't wearing something blue, and I searched my car to see if I could find something B for him to bring into the classroom, and I could not. And I remember leaving the classroom and I cried the entire way to work, because I can't tell you what I did at work that day. I don't know what I had. Did I have a deadline? Did I have a presentation? I'm not sure. What was I working on? But I can tell you that, for those 30 minutes, my biggest disappointment of my day was that I forgot my 2-year-old's B item to bring to the classroom. And I think that was a real kind of aha for me, that, well, it didn't really matter to my day if he had his B item, that was his whole world. And I had to be more responsible for making sure that I was delivering what he needed in his day, as well as what I needed in my day. And I like to say that I never want another young mother who is working to have a B day. I want everyone to be free of B days. So.
Yeah. And Meghan, you are not alone, whether it was a B day or some other day. It's just, we have these moments that we don't know what that's going to be, but we have these moments where our heart just goes, for that period of time. So thank you so much for sharing that, and that it's not seamless. I think it's important for people to know that this isn't a seamless journey. And you're talking about the B day and not having a ball. Well, there were times when we all have the ball drop. Mm-hmm. That's it. The ball drops no matter how hard you try, and that it just means that we're being human. There's only so much that we can do and get a hold of, particularly given the intricacies and the demands in our lives. And so I want to go back to 3 words that you said. One is joy, one is play, and one is age. And that oftentimes you don't hear those 3 words together. And it's so important. And that, could you just tell us more about that? And then we're gonna dig into that some more.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, I had a 15-year career at Hasbro where we were delivering play and joy to kids. And, everyone knows that kids deserve toys and they deserve happiness. And, it really gives them this great creative outlet in terms of how they play and how they imagine and how they grow. And, moving on from Hasbro and then joining Ageless Innovation, the real interesting part is that, people are overlooking the same benefits of play and joy for folks as they age and as they grow. And, folks go through their entire life of working in careers to then retire, and no one retires and says, okay, I'm done working now. I don't want to have any more fun. That you have play and fun and joy and things that make you truly happy. And we just believe that, play is just such a need for everyone, and finding ways to embrace play and make it accessible is really a different way of looking at aging. When you look at older adults, there's a lot of products in the market that are for an older adult because they need them as they age, and they're not to be overlooked because they definitely are helping people's quality of life and helping them age in place and helping with caregiving. But, there's also this need for, how do we continue to infuse play and fun and happiness and joy every day, in things that folks can enjoy as they age.
Right. Joy doesn't have an expiration date. And play doesn't have an expiration date. And coming in with these ideas and this kind of commitment, is just that no matter how old you are, and I know that, I'll just share with you that with my mother, who had her own health issues, and even towards the end of her life, we had her favorite song on a loop. And it made her happy. We saw her light up. And so you never, you don't cross somebody off the list.
And what song was it, Dr. RISA? I feel like we need to know.
Okay. Oh, sure. It was Que Sera Sera. Amazing. What a philosophical song. If you really think, if you take a moment to think about it. And so how did you become a disruptor? How did you become a disruptor in this space?
Yeah, I mean, we're still working at disrupting in this space. I think myself and my coworkers here every day look for, different ways to deliver this kind of unique message to caregivers, to family members, to older adults, to grandchildren, and find ways to make these positive connections between a family, which we do through our products, obviously, but we do through, infusing this idea that bringing play and joy and happiness to older adults is a great way to, break down barriers and make stronger connections between family members and, provide a little bit more ease to folks who are caregiving and find positive ways to connect with those they're caring for. But, we have a product that it doesn't have an aisle. When you talk about, toys and fun and games for older adults, you can't really walk into a store and find a good place to merchandise that. So we've had to be really creative in terms of, one, how we tell people what it is that we make, which is, robotic, interactive, animatronic pets for older adults who otherwise might not be able to care for a real pet, or don't want the burden and expense of having a real pet. But those who could really benefit from pet therapy, which is widely studied and widely regarded as such a great benefit. And there's only so many, live pets that can visit communities and visit folks. And we wanted to replicate that same joy that a pet would bring to someone's life, even if we're doing it through, an interactive robotic companion. So it's been incredibly disruptive in everything we do, in that we've had to find really new channels to get this communication to folks. We've had to educate a lot of people on what it is we do, because it's not something that's widely known. And then I also think, we've made a lot of really fantastic connections, whether that be through healthcare related partners, state partners, retail partners, influencer partners. I saw some, names pop up who are watching this right now, who are people who are so ingrained in the caregiving community, and they have communities that look to them for advice, and hearing from them the positive impact that our pets have had, not just for their own family members in a lot of cases, but also how they've been able to spread that message and bring joy to more people using them. Mm-hmm. It's been fantastic, but we are we are on an ongoing disruption and trying to find more and more ways to, you know, disrupt with play, if you will, and make it a really positive experience for everyone.
Play is undervalued. I mean, it's certainly at this point in time when we talk about tools or we talk about, for children, like teaching them this, teaching them that, teaching them something else, that we overlook the importance of play and how play is such a powerful form of communication, right? And then with some of the older adults that I'm hearing you talk about, there's something that I guess I would call it non-contingent communication. So that for people who are having difficulty, even people who are having difficulty hearing, right? Because that's something that happens with the older community, is that there can be hearing difficulties that make people feel more isolated. And so having this kind of pet that's responsive, that you don't have to worry about feeding it, taking it out, and doing all sorts of, having those responsibilities, and that you don't also have to intuit its needs, that you being there and just trying to interact and have connection with it is all that's needed. And it takes so much burden and stress off of people, that there's a way of getting in there, making connection, feeling that there's something that's responding to you without you having to do something or really take them in. I think it's a tremendous relief, you know, especially if people are confused, they get confused about things and they're not understanding language that well, that there just seems to be such a need. And I'm really thinking to, like, even the little kids that I've worked with, and that when you have something that you can navigate, how important that is, Meghan. You know, like even having like a little dollhouse where you get to move things around. You don't have to ask somebody, do you want to go into this room or do you want to not go into this room? You can just make it happen. And I'm just thinking about the real, the agency that's also given to people who have also often lost agency, that at least they can have agency in these regards.
Yeah. And you talk about, you know, it kind of, you know, what you're alluding to is what we've talked a lot about, just giving people a purpose, right? And giving them, you know, they're responsible, and whether their responsibility is limited to, you know, an animatronic pet that they don't have to care for, but it still gives you that purpose and that sense of well-being, you know, to have this interactive companion. And you mentioned loneliness, which is interesting because COVID over the past few years really put a spotlight on something that was already a huge issue among older adults, and that's social isolation and loneliness. And once everyone was living it, and it wasn't just older adults who might be confined or might be living alone, it really spotlighted that this need for companionship and interaction, and, you know, how much it does drive purpose and well-being and quality of life. And, you know, I don't think that now that COVID is over, I don't think that alleviates this issue of loneliness for everyone. I think, especially as you mentioned, when you're older and you may have challenges like, you know, hearing or your living situation, there's still a lot of folks who are in a position where they can be lonely.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to pull out for our communities is that it takes a lot to create a new aisle. It takes a lot to create a new shelf space, whether it's literally a shelf space for a product or a new idea, a new concept. I know for me, introducing disruptive self-ownership is a huge space, and that to be able to stay true to your purpose, stay behind what you're doing, and that people may not understand. You may be bringing the greatest thing out, and people may not understand what it is that you're really bringing, because you're creating a whole new area. And you're really modeling and letting us know to stick with it. Don't give up. Listen to people and take in ideas, but bringing something new into the world really takes time and determination. It's one of the things I talk about and drop on my posts every day. So if you like, if you're interested, please follow me on Instagram. And that what you're talking about really helps us know that kind of stick-to-itiveness that you have, and also what it means to do what you do good in the world, have a business. Businesses are about, an important part of business is being profitable and also doing good in the world. Like, these are not isolated entities, and you're pulling this all together in this beautifully integrated way.
Yeah, it's very rewarding, which I think anyone here at Ageless will tell you that, we come to work every day and we get to work with a great group of people and we get to work on these amazing items, but ultimately we get stories daily, if not hourly, about the impact they've been having on people's lives, whether that be, an older adult, a caregiver, a community setting, a hospital, a child. But just, you never get sick of hearing those stories and the positive impact that you're having for these people that you have never even met. So for everyone who has experienced our pets or, will experience our pet, please continue to share those stories with us, because they are so rewarding to all of us here. And we make it a point every day to make sure we're sharing those stories throughout the office to everyone. And everyone just gets that really feel good about what we're doing. And it's nice to see the outcome.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's part of your rocket fuel, so when people write in and share their experiences, that's rocket fuel for you all to like keep on going, that you're on the right, you're on the right track, but just like keep going, because you're having such important impact. And if we take a look at our conversation, right, we started with your personal disruption, and then being a disruptor, taking that mindset and that orientation and being a disruptor along with your team, but you're a disruptor into the marketplace. So what's your next disruption?
Oh, wow. We're disrupting all the time. Our next disruption, which we're working on right now, that we're not allowed to say too much about, is that we've actually recently partnered with Hasbro, and we have been given a license to reimagine their gaming portfolio and look at ways that we can make some of their most popular board game titles accessible and really playable for older adults and their families. So more to come, probably in the next month, on exactly what that means for us, but just know we are hard at work, and you will see some new things coming out late this summer in terms of how we can continue again just to bring joy and fun and play now through gaming. So we're very excited.
Well, thank you so much for sharing the beginnings of that. Your audience, you've heard it here first. Please also note that we're going to be posting, and for people listening in, there's a special code that you're going to get, a special coupon code for a percentage off on products. And Meghan, could you, before I thank you for coming on, could you please also let us know how to stay in touch with you, with the company? How do you let us know to do this?
Absolutely. Well, feel free to visit us, like you said, on joyforall.com and learn a little bit more about the products themselves. We do have a special code, which is Dr. RYGER, and that will save anyone who wants to purchase coming off of this show 15% off any products they'd be interested in on our site. And please, Instagram is a great way to follow us. Both Ageless Innovation and Joy For All have Instagram pages. I myself, as well as the company, are up on LinkedIn. So please, the bigger the network and the support system we have as we do this, and there's so many amazing creative minds out there in this space. So we appreciate everyone's partnership and all the support we've gotten. So thank you for having me so much.
Well, thank you for coming on, and I'm sure the audience has really taken in so much information, a lot to think about. And as we move on to our next disruptive conversation next week. I want to thank you all for coming. Please, if you haven't followed me yet, please follow me on Instagram. Let friends know I drop really important information about all sorts of topics of innovation and disruption, and love to see you back here. And remember that positive change can happen at any point. See you soon.